The Canadian wilderness stretches out beyond the horizon, a vast and untamed expanse that few ever truly conquer. It is a land of breathtaking beauty and undeniable danger, where the winds howl through towering pines and the silence is so thick it feels like the earth is holding its breath. But for all its grandeur, the wilderness hides dark secrets that have claimed the lives of those who dared to venture too far. In the shadow of snow-capped mountains and beneath the endless stretch of forest, there are tales that still chill the bones of those who hear them. Stories of people who set out with nothing more than hope and the promise of adventure, only to vanish without a trace. They entered the wild, but they never returned. Today, we are going to explore 5 of the most mysterious disappearances that have ever occurred in the wilds of Canada. These cases remain unsolved to this day, shrouded in mystery, speculation, and eerie whispers of what might have happened. Some say the wilderness itself is to blame its vastness, swallowing the unwary whole. Others whisper of something more sinister, something that hides in the shadows, watching and waiting. But the truth remains elusive. If you are brave enough, sit tight. Grab a blanket, because what you are about to hear might just send a chill down your spine. And if you are ready for more dark tales from the unknown, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss another chilling story. Canada, a land of sweeping forests, untamed mountains, and freezing tundras that stretch beyond the eye can see. It is a place of incredible natural beauty, where crystal-clear lakes reflect the towering peaks and endless green stretches as far as the eye can see. But beneath this picturesque landscape lies something darker, something that most do not talk about. The Canadian wilderness is a place where the world's most remote and unexplored corners exist, a land where human presence feels fleeting at best. For centuries, this wilderness has stood as a barrier between civilization and the unknown, a place where only the most daring or foolish venture. Many who try to conquer it find themselves overwhelmed. The vastness of the landscape too much to bear. Nature is both breathtaking and unforgiving, with harsh winters that can freeze you to your core, and wild animals that are as much a part of the land as the trees themselves. But there is more to this place than meets the eye. Over the years, there have been numerous reports of unexplained disappearances. People, sometimes just one person, sometimes entire groups who simply vanish into thin air, leaving behind nothing but an eerie sense of dread. Some of these cases have become well known, their details etched into the annals of history. The sheer size of the wilderness, combined with its ability to conceal the truth, has made these disappearances the stuff of legend. In fact, many locals believe that there is something about this land, something ancient and malevolent, that has the power to make people disappear without a trace. Is it simply the harshness of nature that claims them, or is there something more, something darker, something that waits patiently for its next victim? As we delve into these mysterious disappearances, we will explore the eerie facts and unsettling theories surrounding them. From the remote corners of the Canadian Rockies to the dense forests of Ontario, we will uncover the chilling details of these lost souls, people who vanished without a trace, leaving only haunting questions behind. So let us begin. Story 1. The Vanishing of the Lost Hiker. It was a clear autumn morning when David Hayes, an experienced hiker from Vancouver, set out for what should have been an ordinary trek in the Canadian Rockies. Known for his extensive backpacking experience, David had climbed some of the most challenging peaks in the region. His friends and family knew him as someone who understood the mountain's temperamental moods, a person who could read the signs of the land with ease. But on this trip, something went terribly wrong. David had planned a solo hike through the rugged, remote parts of the Rockies, a place where few people dared to go. The area he was heading into was known for its steep cliffs and treacherous paths, but David was prepared at least. That is what everyone thought. He left no real indication that anything was amiss, only a brief message to a friend, saying he would be back in a couple of days. That was the last anyone heard from him. Days turned into weeks, and when David failed to return, his family became worried. A search was launched, but despite the best efforts of search and rescue teams, there was no sign of David. His backpack was found abandoned, carefully placed beside a small stream. His tent and other gear were intact, as though David had left in a hurry. But why? Even more chilling, the searchers found a set of tracks leading into the mountainside. They were David's. However, the tracks seemed to disappear just short of a cliff one that had no reason to, that had been crossed. The ledge should have been impossible to traverse, especially for someone as experienced as David. His footprints simply stopped, as though he had vanished into thin air. A local mountaineer claimed that the land had a strange quality, a pull that seemed to entice hikers deeper into the wilderness, to lead them off course, almost like a phantom guiding them into dangerous territory. Some say that there are areas within the Rockies that are cursed, and once you wander too far, the mountains will claim you. David Hayes was never found. The mystery of his disappearance still haunts the Rockies, leaving behind a chilling reminder of how easily the wilderness can take someone without a trace. Story 2. The Disappearance at Blackwater River. It was the summer of 1964 when the Carmichael family, a well-known outdoor loving group from Saskatchewan, set out for a relaxing weekend by the Blackwater River. The river was known for its quiet, serene beauty, surrounded by dense forests and wildlife. It was the perfect spot for a family to escape from the bustle of everyday life and reconnect with nature. The Carmichaels arrived at the riverbank on a warm afternoon, setting up camp near the water's edge. But as night fell, things began to feel strange. The river, normally peaceful, seemed to whisper in an unsettling way. The air grew cold, and the sounds of the forest felt wrong, as if something were watching them. Later that evening, while the family sat around the campfire, a shadow moved along the tree line, catching the eye of the father, Thomas Carmichael. He thought it was an animal at first, but something about it felt off. The shape was too large, too deliberate. It was not until the next morning, when Thomas and his sons went to check the riverbank, that they found something far more disturbing. The river was unusually high, and when they checked the area where they had camped, something was missing. His wife Rachel and their daughter Emily were gone without a single clue as to where they had gone. Their belongings were untouched, the campfire still smoldering, and the only sign of movement was a set of muddy footprints leading into the river. But those footprints did not make sense. They were far too large for a woman's feet, and they led right into the rushing waters, where they disappeared. The search lasted for days, with hundreds of volunteers combing the area. The river was searched for miles, but there was no sign of Rachel or Emily. No body was ever found. The police thought perhaps they had drowned, but the river was shallow in most places, and there was no sign of a struggle. The eerie whispering sounds continued, driving the searchers to frustration. Some locals believe that the Blackwater River is cursed. There are legends about strange occurrences in the area, where the river seems to pull people under, dragging them into its depths for reasons no one can explain. To this day, Rachel and Emily Carmichael are remembered as the victims of a river that holds dark secrets beneath its placid surface. Story 3. The Vanishing of the Backpackers in the Boreal Forest. In the fall of 1993, two backpackers, Tom and Sarah, set out to explore the Boreal Forest in northern Ontario. The forest, a vast and uncharted expanse, is known for its beauty, but also its isolation. Tom and Sarah were seasoned hikers who had explored various parts of Canada, but they were drawn to the Boreal Forest by its untouched nature, the promise of solitude, and the quiet stillness it offered. They had planned a hike for 3 weeks, trekking through dense woods, crossing streams, and camping under the open sky. They kept a journal to document their journey, and from the entries, it seemed that their spirits were high. They described the wilderness as peaceful, but they also mentioned something strange, a feeling that they were being watched. At first, they brushed it off as the natural unease that comes from being in the wilderness, but the feeling only grew stronger. On the 8th day, their journal entry took a darker turn. They described hearing strange noises at night low, guttural sounds that did not belong to any animal they recognized. The noises were coming from deep within the woods, but whenever they tried to follow them, they found nothing. The final entry in their journal was a single, cryptic sentence. "It is not safe here. Something is wrong." The next morning, Tom and Sarah were gone. Their campsite was found abandoned, their backpacks and gear still there, but there was no sign of the two hikers. A search was launched, but despite weeks of searching, nothing was found. No bodies, no footprints, no sign of struggle. The only clue was a torn map, found near a clearing deep in the forest, with strange markings, symbols, no one could decipher. Some believe that Tom and Sarah unknowingly stumbled upon an ancient burial ground hidden deep in the forest. Others speculate that there is something far darker at play, a creature, perhaps, or a curse that has claimed countless lives before them. Their disappearance remains one of the most mysterious and chilling events to ever occur in Canada's wilderness. Story 4. The Hunter Who Became the Hunted. In the fall of 1987, Craig Williams, a seasoned hunter and survivalist from Thunder Bay, Ontario, set out for an extended hunting trip deep in the northern wilderness of Ontario. Known for his skills and rugged self-sufficiency, Craig was no stranger to the challenges posed by Canada's wild and unforgiving terrain. He had spent years in the forests of northern Ontario, hunting game and navigating the vast expanses of wilderness. But this trip was different. Craig had ventured into an area that was considered off-limits due to its treacherous landscape and proximity to an area known for strange, unexplained occurrences. It was a region that few people visited, and fewer still returned from. But Craig was confident, even determined. He had always prided himself on being prepared for any situation. He entered the forest alone, his truck left behind at a secluded parking lot near the border of a national park. The plan was to hunt for several days, then return to civilization. His last communication with his family was a routine check-in, letting them know he was about 20 miles out and heading toward a remote lake known only to a few locals. However, when Craig failed to return after a week, a search was launched. The team that went in after him reported feeling uneasy almost immediately. The forest seemed to close in on them, the trees towering higher than normal and the air thick with an unnatural stillness. As they moved deeper into the wilderness, strange sounds echoed from the shadows, and the hairs on the back of their necks stood on end. At first, they chalked it up to the typical wild sounds of the forest. But then they found something that did not sit right. Craig's camp was discovered untouched. His rifle was still propped against a tree, his gear scattered across the ground as if he had just left it in a hurry, but there was no sign of Craig himself. The team followed the trail of his footprints, which led deeper into the woods and toward a small, dense thicket near a ravine. Then, something strange happened. The footprints stopped. Not at the edge of the ravine, not near a cliff, but in the middle of a dense patch of trees. As though Craig had simply vanished. The team continued their search, but as the days wore on, reports of strange occurrences began to surface. Some members of the search party claimed they saw a shadowy figure moving between the lawn trees, just out of sight. Others heard a deep, low growl echoing through the forest, though no animal was ever seen. The search was eventually called off after weeks of scouring the area, and Craig Williams was declared missing, presumed dead. Yet, the mystery did not end there. A local woman, an elderly Native American who lived on the outskirts of the park, claimed to have seen Craig the night before his disappearance. She said that he had crossed paths with something far darker than any predator, a creature that was said to hunt the hunter. According to her, the land was cursed, and those who ventured too far into its heart would become part of the forest spirit. Craig, she believed, had become the hunted. Craig Williams was never found. His disappearance remains one of the most chilling and perplexing in Ontario's history, and his name is now whispered among locals as a cautionary tale, a reminder that some places are not meant to be explored. Story 5. The Mystery of the Lake's Frozen Silence. It was a weekend camping trip that started like any other, but it ended in a way that no one could have predicted. In January of 2001, a group of 5 friends from Toronto decided to take a break from their busy lives and go on a winter camping trip to a remote, frozen lake in the wilderness of Ontario. The lake was isolated, nestled deep in the forest, and known only to a few adventurous souls. The group was excited for the challenge of camping in sub-zero temperatures, hoping for clear skies and the tranquility of the winter landscape. The group set up camp by the lake, its surface frozen solid beneath the weight of months of winter. The stillness of the lake was eerily beautiful, but there was something unsettling about the place. The winds seemed to speak in a way that sent shivers down their spines, and the trees around them seemed to groan and sway in unnatural ways, but they shrugged it off, dismissing it as the normal quirks of being in such a remote and wild place. That evening, after a night of laughter and stories around the campfire, the group decided to take a walk across the frozen lake. They had heard rumors that strange things happened on this particular lake, disappearances, unexplainable phenomena, and eerie whispers, but no one paid much attention to such things. They were in good spirits, enjoying the quiet, untouched beauty of the landscape. However, that night, one of the friends, a young woman named Hannah, went missing. The rest of the group searched frantically for her. They called her name, scouring the snow-covered surface of the lake and the surrounding woods. But no sign of Hannah was found. Her tracks had simply disappeared, as though she had never been there. Panic set in. The temperature was dropping rapidly, and the wind had begun to howl around them. The search continued through the night, but there was no sign of Hannah. The next day, with daylight hours dwindling, they contacted authorities, and a full search effort began. But after several days of combing the lake and surrounding areas, there was no trace of her, no footprints, no personal belongings, not even a hint of where she had gone. Then, just as the search was about to be called off, something strange happened. Several miles from the lake, deep in the woods, a frozen body was found. It was a woman, Hannah. But what was truly eerie was the condition in which she was discovered. She was frozen, her body still encased in the ice, and her eyes were wide open, staring into the abyss as though she had seen something truly horrifying. Yet, there was no sign of struggle, no physical injury. The ice that had trapped her body had a strange, almost unnatural quality to it, smooth and undisturbed, as though it had formed specifically around her. To this day, no one knows how she ended up so far from the camp or how she got trapped in the ice. Some locals say that the lake is cursed, that it lures people in with its beauty, only to claim them for its own. Others believe that Hannah's death was no accident, that something in the wilderness took her, something beyond the reach of human understanding. The mystery of the lake's frozen silence remains unsolved, and the lake continues to be a place where stories of the unexplained thrive. No one knows for sure what happened to Hannah that night, but her disappearance serves as a chilling reminder that there are places in the wilderness where the boundaries between the living and the dead are not always clear. As we come to the end of these eerie stories, one question lingers in the air. What happens to those who vanish into Canada's wilderness? While each disappearance has its unique elements, there are disturbing parallels that cannot be ignored. From the vanished hiker whose footprint simply stopped, to the family members lost without a trace near Blackwater River, there seems to be something far more sinister at work in these wild, untamed lands. But it is the final mystery, the story of Hannah and the lake, that truly leaves us with a cold shiver. She was not just lost in the wilderness. No, there is something even darker at play. Her body, frozen in the ice, staring into the void with eyes wide open, is an image that haunts the memory. But it is not just the chilling physical nature of her discovery that unsettles. It is the fact that she vanished, seemingly without a trace, only to reappear in a way that defies all logic. No struggle, no sign of a struggle, just an eerie silence that hangs over the lake. The ice that kept her body trapped felt unnatural, almost like the lake itself had planned to claim her. Could it be that these disappearances are connected in some way? Could there be something in the wilderness, something ancient and unseen, that lies in wait for those who venture too far? Some believe that it is the land itself that pulls people in, either by its vast, overwhelming solitude or something far darker that lurks beneath its surface. Stories from indigenous communities speak of spirits, of forces that inhabit the wilderness, and take those who wander too far from the beaten path. But are these simply folklore, or is there truth to them? The odd circumstances of these disappearances, the sudden, unexplained vanishings, the eerie discoveries, the strange feelings of being watched are enough to make anyone think twice before stepping foot into these remote regions of Canada. While we may never fully understand what happened to those lost souls, one thing is certain: some places are better left unexplored, hidden away in the shadows of our world. And that is the most terrifying part of all. These stories may never have an explanation, leaving us with more questions than answers. Some mysteries, it seems, are meant to remain unsolved. So what exactly happened to David, Rachel, Emily, Craig, and Hannah? What took them from the world we know and into the vast, silent wilderness? There are theories. Some suggest natural causes. Others point to a malevolent force that preys on the vulnerable. But the truth remains hidden, buried deep within the heart of Canada's untamed wilds. These disappearances are more than just chilling stories. They are a reminder of the dangerous power of nature, the unknown, and the eerie forces that exist just beyond our comprehension. As we listen to these haunting tales, we must ask ourselves, could it happen to us? What would happen if we were to wander too far into the wilderness, just like these lost souls? Would we too be taken by the land, claimed by something ancient and unseen? The wilderness still holds its secrets, waiting, watching, and pulling in those who venture too far. And as these stories remind us sometimes, the greatest mystery is not what we know, but what we can never understand. Leave your thoughts and theories in the comments below. What do you think happened to these missing people? Do you believe there is something darker lurking in the wilds of Canada? Or is it simply the unforgiving nature of the land? And if you are still hungry for more chilling tales, do not forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss another dark story from the shadows. Our next video will take you even deeper into the unknown,